Mama Posey.
So we got
9:30. Oh yeah, I got that. Man, I can ride a bicycle down there in that amount of time.
I wonder if Bob Blum's gonna be here.
He's not.
Okay. On purpose?
Yeah.
Okay.
He actually. Is Mama Posey back there? Can she actually hear us? Can Cindy hear us? Oh, she can. Okay. Okay, the people upstairs can. So is that Crystal or is that Tony?
I don't know who's up there right now. Probably Tony.
Okay.
Tony could be right now.
It's like I need a little heads-up display that does. I'm going to call to order a special called meeting for the City Council of Rainbow City for March 31st, 2022. It's 5 o'clock, and we'll go ahead and start our business. I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask for a roll call from Beth Lee, our city clerk.
Anita Bedwell, Randy Vice, Jeff Prince.
Here.
Jamison Jenkins.
Here.
Clark Hopper.
Here.
Mayor Taylor.
Here. This is the time and place for a public hearing. The public notice was posted on March 4th of 2022 for this special called meeting, and I'll go over the rules of our meeting. In the past, we've adopted rules that ask that when you come to the podium speaking for or against on this subject, that you would state your name and address, and your time will be limited to 3 minutes. And we'll be as liberal as we possibly can if you've got a something that you're speaking on that you need to finish up a thought. Is there anyone that like to speak for or against we're dealing with the MWT LLC permit process?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. I'm here today to speak on behalf of MWT Alabama LLC. My name is Josh Sullivan. Not only is MWT Alabama a client of mine, but I'm also a resident and citizen of the city of Rainbow City. My address is 210 Woodland Cove Lane, Rainbow City, Alabama. First of all, I wanted to express in terms of Bob Blum, he really wanted to be here tonight. He had something come up, so he wanted to apologize first and foremost for not being here tonight. The extent there's any questions or any issues that come up, that I do have him available by telephone if we need to ask him any questions. But then also, speaking on behalf of my client, the way I look at this client, this is a greener and cleaner way of doing business. As we have all heard about in terms of the pharmaceutical waste, and if you just do any type of Google search, internet search, you'll very, very easily see that a lot of our pharmaceutical waste are ending up in our waste or in our river streams, in our lakes and ponds, and it is a major issue. What my client is proposing to do is, in terms of medical waste, but primarily pharmaceutical waste, is to come up with a cleaner and greener way of disposing of that. In such a way, this process will not require any type of wastewater permit. There will be no processed waters that are discharged from the facility to any type of sewer or stream or other discharge otherwise. So there's no wastewater permit that is required. In addition, there is no air permit that is required. Both the EPA and ADEM have certified that this process is exempt from the requirements of having any type of need for an air permit. But then also, I know some public comments have been made about why would we be wanting to enter or to have some type of permit or allow some type of waste company to come to our city when we have just fought the chicken rendering plant. As y'all all know, along with the mayor, we have been that my firm, Chrissy Knowles, and myself have been on the forefront of leading the charge against the chicken rendering plant. We were one of the ones, along with the mayor, to be the first to come out and say that that is not good for our city and that we do not want it. Now, with that being the case, if I had any concerns about this business, in terms of it being a similar type of business, it being a danger or any other type of detriment to our city, I would not be sitting here. I would not be standing here and speaking on behalf of my client. Now, I have known Bob Blum for many years, but we would not damage our reputation to come here and advance a cause that we did not believe in ourselves. So when we're looking at this, we certainly thank you. We thank the city for their time in allowing us to go through this process. We believe this will be a good opportunity for the city. We believe it will attract other potential pharmaceutical and also medical businesses. And we appreciate the opportunity of working with the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on the subject? For or against? Just state your name and address for our record.
Hello, I'm Reba Stanley. I live in Hidden Meadows subdivision in Rainbow City. Now, pyrolysis, I agree, does seem to be the future of waste management. However, I don't want it in my area within 2.5 miles from my house. It's not so much about the pyrolysis, it's just the fact that the people that are over this facility, Mr. David Cardenas, he lives in New Mexico. Mr. Blum, he lives here in town. But he's also stated that he's going to be the front man for Mr. Cardenas and his future endeavors for establishing more locations for pyrolysis. So he, in fact, is not going to be running that facility that it's going to have his name attached to. Mr. David Cardenas is not going to be running that facility. Mr. Blum has also stated that he intends to turn that facility over to his son. So again, the person that we're putting our trust into, neither one of them is going to be actually running that facility. That's where I have an issue at. Also, Mr. Blum has agreed 30 years of experience in waste management, but he has 0 experience in pyrolysis waste management. His son, that he in turn is going to turn the business over to, he himself has no experience in pyrolysis. Mr. David Cardenas has less than 2 years experience in pyrolysis. I just don't trust them to be doing what they're supposed to be doing. He says he can run that business with 2 to 12 people. We all know if you own a business, you're going to run it as cheap as you can to save as much money as you can to make as much money as you can. So if he can run it with 2 people, he'll run it with 2 people. We're dependent on spotters watching a camera 24/7 or the whole time that this is in process to look for waste that's in the bags that's not supposed to be in the bags, to see if they can catch human waste being disposed of illegally that's not signed off on the invoices or the bills of lading and so forth. We know that if he's running it on 2 employees, that's less spotters, less people to watch those cameras. And then at all the medical facilities that are responsible for these biohazard items that are going to be processed at this location, we all know that 100% of your employees are going to do 100% of what they're supposed to do 100% of the time. And that's not going to happen. There's chances for human error. And in a rush, some person that hasn't worked very long or has very little experience is going to throw the wrong thing in the wrong bag, and it's going to end up in the wrong place, in the wrong hands, and this may or may not be caught by a spotter. There's where I have the issues at. I appreciate the council. I appreciate ADEM. I appreciate GASP and the Coosa River Keepers for their input, for everything they have said about this process. It's not so much about the pyrolysis itself. It's about the people that's going to be in charge of this facility. They're not going to be there, but yet they're attaching their names to it to get it approved. Pyrolysis may be the future of the world. It doesn't have to be the future at Rainbow City. I don't want any waste brought into this area regardless as to what kind of waste it is or how they're going to dispose of it. I didn't spend 18 months of my life fighting an animal rendering plant to allow this to come into Rainbow City. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak for or against? Okay.
My name is Steve Swindle. I live 136 Hidden Circle, Rainbow City, for 53 and a half years so far. Hopefully a few more. I don't think I can do this in 3 minutes, so I'm just
Just
gonna
give it a
hit the
whirl.
highlights. I'm a lifelong resident of Rainbow City. A few months ago, before this proposed project was brought to the public's attention, I discovered my mother and late father's property line was the end of Rainbow City and the beginning of Etowah County. Upon that discovery, my mother, my cousin, and my 2 aunts next door all began the process and completed the process of annexing into Rainbow City, and we came before you, Mayor Taylor, and his council just a few months ago. I'm sure you probably remember us, because we love Rainbow City. We love the identity, the way of life, and the idea of what we are, and more importantly, what we're not. So, Mayor Taylor, you're only the 3rd mayor that's been elected in my lifetime, which shows that things around here are slow to change, but with the size of your election win, I think you saw, and we all saw, that we were ready for change, not just for the word's sake, but for a better direction. And I, my family, my friends, and most people that I've spoken with agree that the direction of the acceptance of a medical waste facility is not what we voted for and annexed in for. We just don't agree with, respectfully, what's being presented by Mr. Bloom and Mr. Cordelius. Sorry, I don't want to mispronounce his name. Like Reba just touched on, and Josh, who I have a lot of respect for, said we have fought our guts out against this rendering plant, as did everyone in this building for the last year and a half. And I don't think that we did that for the acceptance of, say, medical waste business is the best that we can do. I think we could do better. I think waste business is waste business. I'm not, a chemist. I'm not going to argue the molecular structure of biodegradable waste with anyone, much less the nice lady on the monitor, Mr. David, Mr. Bob, or anybody else. I just simply believe that it's not for Rainbow City. I think it opens the door for more waste business. It doesn't more than it would open the door for more medical business. I wouldn't put a junkyard in this location thinking it's going to attract automakers. I wouldn't put a landfill thinking it's going to argue that it's going to attract grocery business, food producers. It's just not something that I accept, and most people that I've spoken with accept. And like I said, I have a lot of respect for Josh. I heard what you said about apples and oranges. I just happen to disagree that this is not for us. And thank you all for your time.
Is there anyone else that'd like to speak? Anyone? We'll take all of this under advisement. Of course, we don't have any intentions of voting, had no plans in any way of doing that. Our next meeting is April the 11th at 5 o'clock. And, of course, it'll be on the agenda if nothing changes between now and then. And we appreciate you being here. And again, we'll take all of that under advisement. Is there anything further to come before us? I'd entertain a motion that we adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Thank y'all for being here.